Hi everybody, and welcome to the release video of the Flowable 2025 summer release. As is the tradition, I am here with Valentin Zickner. Hi Valentin.
Hi Johan, hi everybody.
And welcome, obviously. We have a lot of things to talk about today, but before we get going, I noticed something really weird on the title of this video. It had a different versioning number than usual, right, Valentin? What does that mean?
Yes, so we now start with the actual year in which we are doing the release, so 2025, followed then by which release in the year it is. So .1 means the summer release, .2 means the winter release.
Makes sense,
and at the end there we have the patch version as before as well. Only in case it's basically then 0.1, 0.2 and so on.
Okay, cool. Now, so if you've been following these release videos, as you should have been, this would have been the 3.18. Now it's a 2025.1. It's as easy as that. So we have a lot of things to talk about. Just from the top of my head, AI agents, the cloud. We've got a lot of cool things there. A lot of cool things in design too. The work UI, a lot of features, just a lot of improvements. And we're gonna pick the highlights out of them. And as always, there is way more where this is coming from. So definitely read the release notes and know that whatever we show here today, there is way more cool stuff in this release. I'd say we start with the AI stuff because that's what everybody has been waiting for. So you ready, Valentin?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, the AI part. And there is a lot to talk about. If you've watched the previous release video, as you should have, you know that in the previous release, we were all about invoking AI services, LLM specifically, but in the last months, a lot has changed. It's all about agentic. It's all about being able to define tasks to this agentic AI services. They kind of then divide things among themselves. You call them out and you help them for tools, for advice, for suggestions and whatnot. I mean, that's not important for Flowable because when it comes to Flowable, what we do is orchestrating things, right? We build cases, we build processes, and truly I believe that when you build processes and cases around these agents, you bring them to the next level. Why? Because you make them structured, you make them consistent, you make them predictable, and you audit them. Those are really important features in an enterprise environment. So what I did is I asked Valentin to build a demo that would really highlight what it means to orchestrate different type of agents. So Valentin, with that being said, what have you been cooking?
So I was building an intelligent customer success case, which is basically nothing more than a kind of service ticket where you can post things and it is going then ahead and analyzing what should happen next, what are we going to do. And therefore, we build out that case diagram in here with a lot of few tasks in there. We already see here different possibilities like SLA breach claimed, contract renewal, customer service completed, license report provided, and different things which can happen here inside the case. But before we go into detail about the case, maybe we look at how it looks during runtime.
That's always good. And I just wanted to add that we found that CMMN and case management works really well in this agentic world for the reason that you're modeling things in the kind of pattern, if this happens, then do that. And that's exactly fitting the agent use case, as you will see, very well, right?
Yes, and I'm now starting a new case, which is basically the case which we just have seen. I'm going ahead and uploading a report, and I claim that the SLA was breached. And
this is a hypothetical scenario, never happens at Flowable, of course.
Now we go ahead and submit that. We submitted a document, and in the background, that document is actually analyzed. We see that document here in the document tab, and there we see, it was assigned to the type support ticket.
Nice.
So when we open that document, we also see here that this document contains 2 tickets. We see the tickets basically in here in our list. And we can, at the end, basically also see that the information was extracted. You see here a slightly different time than on the left-hand side. That is just because here it's UTC and here it's in my local time.
So I'm really wondering how you built that. So I definitely want to see that.
We are going to see that once we go into that. Before that, we are going to show you here the chat. In the chat, basically, we have the possibility to communicate with an AI agent. So when I say hi, I see basically a response message, and we can talk about basically what is going in here. Now for our process, we see now that basically we executed the SLA breach analysis, and that actually opened also a task. So when I go here back to the chat, I actually see that there's another message from our agent telling me, we just invoked the SLA breach claimed. And there's a user task basically which came out of that. So let's go back to the open task. And
so
here
it looked, so from my understanding, it looked at your input, which is a document and that little note, right? And it automatically now decided that this task is the kind of interesting thing to do at this point, right?
Yes, this task is the interesting thing. And also in my document, I had 2 tickets, and in here, I only have just 1 ticket left. So that is the ticket basically for which the SLA breach was claimed. And I don't need to look at the list of tickets anymore. It's just extracted this one.
And if I don't like the fact that it's starting automatic task, is it always going to start something, behind the back, so to say, or can it also be a tool that helps me?
I mean, it can be also a tool that helps you. So you have different possibilities to say that. And maybe that's the good point to look at our orchestrator agent. So in here, we have a case, and that case is backed by an orchestrator agent. We can configure that here on the case level. So here we have that agent model. But now the specific thing is that little AI icon, which we have here on the SLA breach claimed. And that was invoked automatically because I said this is AI activated and automatic. You could go ahead and say here, that is just a suggestion. And then you have the possibility in the chat to say, yes, I am going ahead and doing
Then it's really like an advice saying, hey, based on whatever I saw in that document and the input, I think you should be doing this rather than starting it automatic. I can see that some people would prefer one over the other, right?
Yeah, I think it depends at the end on the use case.
Exactly.
And here for that use case, at this point, we would like to have everything automatic. When you then go down and say a user handle, you might switch to another stage where it's more semi-automatic and nothing is happening or less is happening that automatic, but you have the flexibility in there.
And the cool thing is that you have all the possibilities of BPM and CMM modeling available to you. So you're really including these agent technologies, let's say, in a way that is really powerful. If I want to involve a human now, a person, I can do that, right? It's quite easy. Anyway, so that's one type of agent. What else do we have, Valentin?
Yeah, so maybe the orchestrator agent, we look at this point also from the agent model, since there's a model backing that up, which has then different operations. Those are all default operations, basically, which we see in here. So you can edit those, but you cannot delete those since we are using them, for example, for the chat. There we invoke that operation and so on. And we also have in here another agent, that's the document agent. And that we have seen at the beginning when we classified the document, that we use document classification.
Okay, now I see. So you're linked to a content model, that's cool, right?
So we have in here a list of content models. That list of content models is used to decide which is a potential candidate for our document. Here it decided basically it's about support tickets. So it went ahead and used the support ticket content model. And that one has then also behind the scenes a form. That is the form we have seen before. And based on this form, it's trying to extract the data as good as possible.
Cool. That is
cool.
That is cool.
Form, it's kind of a little bit trickier since you could have conditional things. But in general, that basically works.
But if I also just want to run an LLM service like we've done in the past, just say, look at this document, get me whatever you find, that would also work. However, it wouldn't be very structured, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You could just say here, add a new operation. You have a content item as an input, and you can then even say, let's do a structured result. But then you define a structure here in that content model.
And if I say text, it probably is free form, right? You don't know what comes out of it.
Exactly. Then a complete text is coming back and you cannot specify how the structure is. I mean, you could try it as part of the prompt, but then obviously it's not structured from our point of view anymore.
Okay, so that's 2 types of agents models, right? What else do we have?
So when we actually continue here, the SLA breach claimed process is quite interesting, since that one here is going through a set of agents. Actually, most of the tasks in here are agents. First, we take the information from our content item and save that on our process. And then next, we are going ahead and invoking agent force. So we have external agents.
Yes, and external here, because I've got people who ask me this already. What does it mean, external? It means that this agent is living, I mean, it's not living in the end, right? But the life cycle of it is outside of Flowable's control, which means that in this case, you've got something running on Agent Force. You've configured and started an agent there, and we are interacting with the APIs, as you can see here. And basically, this agent will be there depending on how you configure it. We will just send operations to it. Now, you see, we've got Agent Force from Salesforce. We've got AWS Bedrock and Azure AI Foundry right now that we support as kind of external agent systems.
Yes, so those are the agents we have in here, and maybe we even quickly look at Salesforce itself. Here we have the Acme company. That's the company we basically have seen previously or used previously inside the demo. That has the account value A that is becoming more important later on. And we are using basically an agent force here inside our operations to get an account by the name. So we are searching here by an input text, and we are saying here basically, give me the company with that name.
And there is no system prompt here, right? Why is that?
There's no system prompt, since the system prompt is defined on the external agent. So in Agent Force, and I'm not going to show you that configuration, otherwise we are not going to finish our release video. We configured all that agent that it is able to access our accounts.
Got it.
And when we quickly search here now for an input like Acme's, we should be able to get our company then back. It takes a little bit until that agent responds. So as always with those LLMs, they are not completely fast. Also, we are waiting here for the entire response and don't see the text basically typing slowly. Then it would be a little bit faster.
And it's a demo, so obviously it's going to fail.
Obviously it failed. I just tried it again to see if it is now working on the next time. And actually there we go. So here we see that we have the Acme company coming back. We see also the account value again. We see the industry again, all that information.
That is really cool, because I can now create prompts of data that's not living in Flowable and get them out of Flowable in a way that in the past not necessarily was exposed to a REST API or not easily accessible, or I don't even have to learn the REST API, right? I mean,
but I mean, the disadvantage here is the information is a little bit unstructured.
It's not structured. That kind of sucks when it comes to processes, right?
Yes and no. So in our process, we have here now a next step, which is structure the agent force result. And there we are using another agent type. That's the utility agent.
And a utility agent is kind of like a one-shot, means that you give it some input, it does one thing, and then gives you some output. That's pretty much it.
So here we have the extract agent force information. We are taking basically here as an input the text, which we got
from Salesforce, right? From Agent Force.
The text from Salesforce. We have then the output. And I should actually have just copied the text from before, since then we could have tried it out. Tried it out with that and basically see what the result is. And here we have a simple prompt allowing us basically
to structure the data. That's cool.
Structure the data.
Cool. I mean, I was thinking that if I would have to code this, right, whether it be in JavaScript or something, that would be quite cumbersome, because you don't really can control what comes back, right?
You wouldn't need to specify really explicitly the structure. And for Agent Force so far, and they probably will improve by the time we even release that video, it is not always sticking to the structure you gave it.
Got it.
So there it is a little bit difficult to get good results, but with having another agent which is kind of specialized in getting a really good result, it works really good.
That makes sense. I mean, the world is a messy place in the end, right? So it makes sense.
So next agent type actually in the list is here the knowledge base agent, which is getting the information about our account. So here we have similar as a utility and operation, like get customer SLA, which has an input of company name and account value, and output what our response times are.
Yeah.
We have a prompt in here, and the special thing you are going to tell us now, I guess.
Exactly. I was already ahead of you. So the special thing is that obviously a public LLM can't know about this company-specific information, and that's where the knowledge base comes into play. Now, knowledge base implements the RAG pattern that is known in the AI world. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So indeed, if you go into this knowledge base, what you do is you define how to vectorize specific data, specific content, right? Word documents, PDFs, and whatnot. And vectorizing very simply means you're going to make a mathematical representation of it that AI services can understand. And when you're prompting, when you're asking information about the company, like Valentin was showing, what we're going to do is we're going to also fire this prompt as a search query into this knowledge base. And we're going to add whatever we get back to the prompt. We're going to pad the prompt with this information. And that works actually really well to do very easily add information to your prompt that is not available in the LLM that you're using, the model behind the scenes you're using. So it's a really powerful pattern that works actually really well. So
yes, so that allows here to use an additional document, which we actually can see here inside documents. When we then go to work and scroll to our knowledge base, we have here a simple document that specifies for which account value we have which response time. And we are just adding this document then to our prompt. And that gives us the possibility then to get the required SLAs.
Well, technically, you're not adding the full document because that would be a lot of tokens to your prompt, right? You're adding a relevant part to the prompt. Now, in this case, because the document is small, it's probably going to be most of the document, if not everything. But the idea is that this search does a nearby search, to say it in human language, right? And basically adds the relevant section to it. Now, that's cool, but can I then later see how that actually was used? Because if I'm an enterprise, I want to know which data, which documents were used to give me the answer, right?
So we actually have two different points of getting to that. First of all, we could start at our content and look for our content items. There we see that I have a lot of content since I uploaded a lot of things. But we also see here our SLA compliance matrix, which we have used before. So we could take the ID of the content item and now go to the knowledge base items basically, and search basically here for the specific document, which we have in that list as well. Probably I could have directly go here as well, since there are only 2 items. But anyway, in here we also see that this document was used in those agent instances. Now here you just have a cryptic ID, but you also see how good it's scored for that specific use case. When you click on one of them, you see then also that specific agent instance with the entire exchange which was used for that specific invocation.
Exchange means literally all the kind of back and forth you've been doing with the underlying AI model, right? So later on, I can always look at this audit data and see why did this process or case go left or right? Well, because the result was this, right? And that's really, really important in enterprise environments, I would say.
Yes, it is. So with that, I think we only have here one last task. That's the check SLA breach. That actually is not that exciting since it's just invoking again a utility agent. And then afterwards, we are showing the user basically what was the result. And here we have with just 4 agent tasks, which we are invoke one after each other. We have a nice way to basically, from the information the user provided, to get to the result, which is then just shown to the user for a confirmation. Obviously, we could also go directly here and handle the SLA breach. That part we did not model out, but it just simplifies your decision-making in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a different way of thinking about solving problems, right? We're still using BPMN, CMMN, like you have all the powerful tools to your availability, but you suddenly have different powers, powerful paradigms to your availability that you can now include in your orchestration. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. And I think we just are getting started as an industry to understand what the impact is going to be. But definitely our message here is that orchestration in enterprise need to be audited, consistent, predictable. And that's exactly what we're going to give you, right? So, I think you highlighted all the different agent model types, Valentin. So thank you for building that demo. That was really cool to see. What's the next thing we're going to talk about?
Next, we are going to talk about cloud and what we have new in the cloud.
Okay, let's go. All right, the cloud. So as you know, Flowable can be run in many ways. You can run it on premise in kind of connecting it to any database, kind of any server infrastructure you want. You can run it, let's say, headless as a platform. You can run it in Docker, Kubernetes, you name it, right? But if you don't want to bother with any of that, there is obviously the Flowable Cloud. And there's two highlights that we want to show you today of quite important changes to the Flowable Cloud, which is the way you can store secrets in Flowable Hub, and the way you can now do scripts inside of your cases and processes. So Valentin, can you please guide me through those two things?
Yes, so maybe we start in Flowable Hub, which is one of the applications in here. It's the place where you can manage your users, groups, and so on for the different environments. You also have a selection here of your two environments which you have, the sandbox and the production environment. And for each of them, actually, you can go ahead and define secrets. So secrets
that's new, right? That's a new feature, which is pretty important because you don't want your and secrets in this thing can be anything. It can be an API key, it can be a token, it can, you name it, right? So define it here. Right?
Yes, you can add them here. You add them for each environment. You could even say, I would have a new one which I generate. So that's my test secret. And then later on, you can reference them in your service model, for example. Also in your agent model, you can go ahead and reference them when you are communicating, for example, with an LLM. You can say that is the secret which you need to use to communicate with that LLM. Similar to the secrets, we also have OAuth 2 client registrations, which you can add here. So there you can basically connect your client easily through that Flowable Hub interface inside the cloud.
Yes, that makes sense because, of course, you don't have the same kind of capabilities you have on premise, and you want to do this in a secure way, and this is guaranteed to be securely stored and all of that. Cool. All right. Then what about the scripting?
Now, the scripting is the next one. And I prepared here a service registry, which has operations for scripting. So I also selected the type scripting. I have in here inputs. So I'm able with my script to convert from a few units to other units. And for that, I need the from and to unit. I also need to use the input value basically. And I would like to have a result. All of those numbers are doubled. And then I have here a simple script, basically, which is doing the conversion. So we have a list of the conversions in here, and all of that is JavaScript. Now, the special thing in the cloud is to execute that in a secure way, which isn't that easily, since you could go ahead and basically do different things in here. You can do endless loops and so on.
Yeah, well, maybe the first thing that I try, right? I would go here and try to do whatever. I would try to
while
or try to get data from other users and that. I mean, that's the first thing that you would try on these kind of thing, right? But the way that this works is that this will actually the script will not be running on the same machine as you're running your regular processing cases. There will actually a serverless function will be deployed when you deploy this particular process or case or this app. And when you invoke the script from the runtime execution, it will actually start or call out to the serverless function and run it there. Now, this runs fully isolated. You can't access any data of the system, can't access any data of other users, and you can also don't screw up anything with regards to performance, memory, or whatever, right?
But you still can access the input data and the output data. So the information which we are giving in here now, once that's good, and you see it's really fast. And now we see basically here the result in there. And with that, we have an easy way to also do something advanced in the cloud, which otherwise you would need to deal with expressions and write an external service. You can just use a script in here.
Exactly. It's a feature that many users have asked for, and it was really, technically challenging to make it secure, but I think we found a really neat way to make all of this work without losing any power, right? So, very pleased with this. Cool. Thank you, Valentin. What's next up the menu?
Next, I think, is Flowable Design. We already have seen a few things in design, but let's go into detail there.
All right, let's go. All right, Flowable Design, everybody's favorite modeling tool. There's a lot that went into the last release when it comes to Flowable Design, and especially a lot of quality of life improvements that make the experience just a bit better than the previous release. We've taken a small list of the highlights we want to cover today, but as always, there is way more where this is coming from. First of all, what I see at the top of the toolbar there is a search that was not there before, right, Valentin? What does it do? How can I use it?
Yes, so that is basically a search where you can go ahead and press Command K or click on it and search for a specific model.
Yeah, on Windows, obviously, a different key binding, I assume. So
yes. Yeah, so we have here the current weather service, and we can simply just open that with the keyboard now. Instead of clicking through and searching in which app it is, you can just use our global search.
And this also, I mean, we've seen this in the agent model editor already with the kind of vertical side panel, vertical tabs on the left. I really like it here in the service model because when you're building a complex service before, it could get quite big and cluttered, right? So I really like this clean approach to things. Just mentioning it because I think it's cool.
Yeah, so now we basically have here in the operations, but there's, I think, an even more cool stuff inside the service registry. And that applies for all of them, not only for the REST service, it also applies for the other services. We have here inputs and we have outputs. For the outputs, we could even assume that we don't have any so far. So we just start with an empty output. And you might have seen that small little tab here at the end, which is test operation. And what we can do in here now, we can just say our inputs are some random values and you are filling them in and then you press test. Now that location which I entered belongs to I think the city Boulder in Colorado, United States. We see that over here. And we see here in 2 columns, and I scroll them at the same time, our full response and a mapped result. Now, the full response is basically what is coming back from the REST API.
And the mapped is basically applying whatever mapping we had. But you had nothing, right?
Yes.
You had no output.
I had nothing. I removed the one mapping I had. We can now go ahead and simply basically add here, we would like to know the state. And we just press there and say, let's save that. And then we can say, maybe in addition to the state, we also would like to have the city. We just save that as well. And now when I press test again, we see that the mapped result is now just those 2 items which we have had before.
That is cool. So, that is going to make a lot of users happy because right now with the current release, that's the previous release at this point, you would have to manually deploy it, check it, see if it works, and this is going to save a lot of time. Really good.
Also you need to know how the REST endpoint looks like, basically what it is giving back to you. Now you can, and that's also why I wanted to start with an empty model. Go ahead and just get the first response, look at it, and then directly build your model from here.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Close that, save that, and with that, basically, we are done here in the service. And that the same, basically, only a little bit simpler, applies also for the expression and the script thing.
Right. There was also some quality of life improvements. I mean, this is definitely a huge quality of life improvement for the queries, right? Some of the similar area.
Yes. So let's
also, by the way, there's actions there. What is that?
There are actions which allow you basically to create a new query, which I'm now not going to do.
Shortcuts.
Yes, I'm just going ahead and using my existing query. But also for that existing query, I was kind of lazy. I did not type out a template. And there's a cool new feature here in the new version where you say generate default template. Now you might say,
that was already there, right?
Yes, exactly. But now it's better than before. So now it looks at your app, and in case there's a process or just one process in there, it directly fills in the process name for you that you basically don't need to look that up. When you go here for the index case instances, it's doing the same thing.
And that company name is also not standard, right?
The company name is also not standard. I mean, in case you don't enter anything, it will show you the same default than before. But now when you go ahead and add a parameter, it is going ahead and adding those parameters also as variable input types. Obviously, that might not be correct. It might be something different. Then you need to rewrite your query here, but it is giving you a good starting point to make your life easier. Next is, and that we had before, basically the query in here where you can fill in the company name. I just say Acme for now. and then you see how our query looks. But when we scroll a little bit further down, we also see now basically the result of this query. So what is coming back in here.
Yeah.
And that allows us now when we, for example, instead of Acme search for test, we see nothing in here.
That is really powerful, because right now in the current release, I would have to deploy this, publish this, see if it works, go back, and this is a really cool small quality of life improvement. It's going to make a lot of people happy too.
And there's another improvement in here. We might have seen it a little bit before. The sort parameters are now there as well. You can use them in the preview. It even tells you what you need to add to the URL that they are going to work at the end.
Cool.
And with that, you can now also do sorting really easily together with the save queries before you went. You needed to use a custom query for that.
That is awesome. Next on my list I have noted down here is quality of life improvement when it comes to the import UI. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we have a lot of quality of life improvements in here. So when we are here in the app import, now when you import an app, which you already have, so let's just import my preview demo again, then you get now that nice little dialogue asking you, what should I do? I mean, I don't want to import it since I still have it imported, so nothing to do in here. Also, the import dialog changed actually here when we go ahead and import something inside a model. So here we can now, when we import a process, for example, we can add more files. So we are not limited to one file anymore. We are just going ahead and simply adding here multiple files.
That bothered me quite a bit, honestly, because I'm doing this quite a lot, and I mean, this is making my life better. So that's a good win for me. Last on my list, Valentin, I had being able to get an overview of models that are from a shared workspace, for example.
Yeah, I have here one model which is coming from a shared workspace. That's my shared data dictionary. I called it like that we can easily see it. But we also see in here that there's that little cube icon which tells us that is coming from a central place.
Got it.
So it is included from our shared workspace, which is configured on workspace level.
Cool. All right. I think that covered the kind of high levels we want to touch. As I said, there's way more in the current release from Flowable Design. A lot of small things that just make it all better than before. But we still have a lot of ground to cover. Next topic, Valentin, is
Flowable Work. So since we covered now the design time, let's go to the runtime.
The runtime. All right, let's go. Okay, moving into the land of the runtime Flowable Work. And when it comes to the runtime, there's a lot of things that went into this release, but they're really hard to demo because they're not really visual. Go and check out the release notes. I mean, there's a lot of improvement, performance improvements, other improvements when it comes to the engines. And it's just going to make things the best release ever, as we always say, obviously. However, when we talk about things we can demo, the first thing that I noticed, Valentin, on the screen is, again, like in design at the top, the search bar, right? So how does it work?
Yes. You started in the same way than you started in design, and then you can simply start typing, and you can search here basically for work and tasks. So I can search here for a process which we created earlier as part of the AI agent demo. And simply because we are using the company Acme in there, and I created a variable extractor for that specific field, I can see it in here and can go for that one. And that is basically how that works.
Yeah, cool. So that's some, similar to kind of like we have in design. The search works exactly the same as in Work. Really powerful stuff. Really going to make a lot of people happy. Now, the next thing I had on my list here was the data table. Now, the data table got a big visual overhaul in this release. I don't know if you've got a data table somewhere there in the system.
Yeah, actually, I have here the overview page, which I can also open through that search bar. And in here, we have a simple data table. It just lists basically the cases of one certain type. And you might have seen earlier that I have had 3 cases in there. And we see basically in that data table that, and that was possible before, we have inside the row here that gray background. But new is that you can also configure in the cell a dedicated
but also new visually, it looks very different from the previous data table, right? I mean, it just the whole visual overhaul, we should not neglect that for sure. But that actually, the colors is something that a lot of customers have asked for. So maybe can you share with us how you modeled this?
Yeah, so really quickly in design, basically, when you go to your specific cell, there you can, inside the settings,
Yep.
configure the cell color configuration in
I
there, and there
see.
you provide the color with an expression.
Okay,
Typically,
okay.
you would say here age is younger than 18 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Then please highlight it and not just based on the last name.
They're cool. That's a nice little feature that will make a lot of people happy. I also see here on this page you've got two funny fields. What are they?
Yeah, meter and feet, you might remember them from the cloud part
Yep.
actually. Here, just another way how to calculate feet. And what I want to show you actually is that when you type something in the meter field, it now has a slight delay of 200 milliseconds by default
Yep.
until the calculation is done. So that
Yeah.
allows you to do more expensive operations less often, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely when you have big forms, this makes a lot of sense because if you start typing it immediately starts processing, it's like a Christmas tree lighting all up and all kind of things happening. And this is a way more kind of natural, relaxed kind of working with these forms. So I mean, it's a small thing, but I really think it's worthwhile mentioning. Last thing I had on my list here is the user event listener button. What does that mean?
So therefore, let's go to one of our cases. And in here, we have had the user event listeners displayed as buttons. Now, new is that you can also include them on a work form. And I have a really basic work form in here. So typically, you would have more stuff around there. And somewhere inside the work form, probably the place where you would like to have that specific button. And here you can now say, basically, we press that button, you will see it directly disappears from here. And then it also triggered the action, and
whatever
we have
you
now
modeled
hello in here.
in Cimament, exactly. Yeah.
So we see here in the diagram, create hello task is doing the hello task creation. So nothing special in there.
Yeah. That's quite powerful. I can already see how people would use this. Okay, cool. That was it for the visual part of the runtime environment. Again, there's a lot, way more that's going on in this release when it comes to the runtime. Just, again, check the release notes. Next topic, Valentin, something completely different, right?
Yes, next topic is actually how we integrate with Microsoft Power Automate. So we are going to see that next.
All right, let's dive into the topic of RPA, Robotic Process Automation. As you might be aware, in the 3.17 release, we had the integration that we added with RPA framework. You might also have seen our video that we did on Cloud Desktop, where we used an AI service to do something similar. But in this release, we added integration with Microsoft's Power Automate Desktop, right, Valentin? So I see you've got something ready on your screen. So what are we looking at?
Yes, so we have a process in here, and that process has one new task. That's the Power Automate task, where we can go ahead and actually configure the flow of Microsoft Power Automate, which we would like to use. So we have a list here to select. We can have some one specific configuration in here. And then we can go ahead and say for this flow, we are requiring a few input parameters. It actually has a drop down here of the values which it requires.
And if I'm not mistaken, we're using the same, because I'm knowing these from the previous videos, right? The FC fiscal cost or something financial, right? And WACI weighted average of something. I don't even remember.
So basically, we calculate the value of a company based on the discounted cash flow method, and we have then as a result the company value and the terminal value.
Yeah, and the thing here is that this Excel sheet is not available, or there's no API available. You can call out like you would normally do a REST service or something.
I mean, we could go ahead, and we have done the scripting before in the cloud part and implement that thing as a script. But for now, let's just assume there's nothing else available, and we have an application where we simply go ahead and use that integration. So I already published that, I believe. So we can now go ahead and start a new process. In here, we have the evaluate company value. We are just entering a few different values in here, and then weighted average capital cost. And now it is starting the execution. So now it reaches out actually to the Power Automate Cloud, which then is going ahead and basically doing polling on the other side. So now it's started.
I think the desktop is probably polling, right?
Yes, the
of the
desktop
cloud?
is now
Yeah,
polling here. The cloud is a push, and now basically we are on the desktop.
Right.
We see here, actually, I still have it open here, the Power
Right.
Automate flow. And in a few seconds, it is going ahead and opening Excel for us. And you see also in here, after it entered all the information, I included 15 seconds, just
Yeah.
that we have enough time to look at the Excel document.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
So let's minimize that. We see already it entered those values. We see here there's a terminal value, which is 2.5 millions, and 2.2 we have for the company value. So those are the values which we later expect in the document.
Your 15
and now
seconds
it's gone
are done
again.
now. Yeah.
15 seconds are done now. We can now go back to Flowable, where we quickly need to refresh the page. And then once we refresh the page, we don't see anything yet, since here we also need to do polling. So there's no way that we can basically get a push for the data is now back. Yeah. So we are polling here constantly now in the background for the result from the Power Automate flow task.
That's all built into that task, right?
That is all built into that task. You don't need to do anything. Actually, it is built in as a job. So when you go to Flowable Control, you would even see that job actively polling. We now see that was completed. We see here the 2.5 million for the company value, as well as the company value, which was at around 2.2. I don't remember the exact number, but there it's just passing through all those values.
Cool. That's really powerful and really cool how it works, right? I mean, in the end, if you can't access something through a proper web UI, not UI, REST API, right?
REST API or GraphQL
for that matter, right? Then this is definitely a cool way, and definitely with Power Automate, as it's built into Microsoft Windows, isn't it?
Yes. So you still need to install something, but most of the stuff comes native. You need to connect your machine basically here to the cloud, and then you can simply use it. You need to do a few tweaks that you have a token and a meshing group, which all combines together. But to get started with Power Automate is really easy, and then you can simply connect it afterwards.
Cool. Here we go. Another way to get data and logic that is not available to Flowable into your processing cases. I think this just opens up more opportunities. And thank you for that, Valentino. With that being said, I think we are now ready for the last part where we talk about general kind of improvements and finishing up this video, right?
Yes.
Okay, Valentin, we're now at the part where we're going to talk about those things that didn't really fit into any of the categories that we've talked about. Before, I just noted a few down on my list here. First of all, and you got the screen already on the right spot, I see, is support for content items in a data dictionary. I mean, it's kind of already covering what it is, right? So you can go ahead. I mean, I can see you're dying to explain it to us.
You already said everything. Basically, we have here a list of types, and now new as part of a data dictionary, you can have the content item type, meaning that when you have a type-based process variable, you can include in there also content items, which is new in this release.
Yeah, I mean, something we liked in the past, and we, just there. That's it. The next thing, if we go to Flowable Work, is I think, there is a nifty little feature in Inspect I wanted to highlight. Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
If you go to the test users, here we go. There is now a way. I mean, you could always impersonate for a couple of releases already, like other people. It's very useful if you want to try out your process cases and forms in how does it look like if I'm running it as this user, like if I'm a modeler and I want to just see how it reacts for the various roles. But there's an easier thing now, right, Valentin? That's what you're planning to do.
So before, basically, you did do it as part of the test, and now you're just pressing that button. Then it refreshes the page, and you are as part of your test user. We also see now access not allowed. So this test user doesn't have access to my specific process, which I have had open. So we are now signed in as this test user.
A small thing, but this really speeds up the way you go back and forth when you want to test out your processing cases. Let's go to your third tab. I see you've got Flowable Control open there. And there was another cool feature when it comes to incidents. Now, incidents have been in since last release, I believe.
Last release, yes.
Yeah, there's various incidents that can be configured. I mean, go and look in documentation if you're interested in that. But new in this release is that you can also now configure it to store any exception that you have encountered. And I see that you already had a problem with your system?
Yeah, so once you enable basically that it stores exceptions, and I actually did do that before since that doesn't work together with Flowable Inspect, so that is more meant for production.
Yeah.
Then you see the exception in here. You can deep dive into that exception. So in a production environment, that is really useful to basically see what is going on. You can then go here to the process, which is associated to it, and find out what went wrong there.
Yeah. Also worthwhile mentioning is that this feature is also available on the Flowable Cloud, so you can actually in Hub see your exceptions, which is very useful because, of course, you don't have any kind of console or any kind of log file you can go to look what's going on. So it's really important when you're modeling and things don't work as you expect them to work. All right, those were like the three that I just wanted to talk about because I think they're nifty little features which are cool. Traditionally, we end this session with the tech upgrades or the kind of worthwhile things to mention. This is mostly for people that are building their own kind of setup with Flowable Maven modules or custom UIs or mix and mash and have a different kind of setup than the default setup. I think, Valentin, do you know from the top of your head which one we should mention?
I think it's Spring Boot definitely, where we are upgrading
3.5, right? Yeah,
3.5 exactly.
Yeah,
and then a few other minor dependencies, but I don't know them anymore top of my head.
I mean, we always maybe also worthwhile mentioning as part of every release. We have automatic kind of system scanning for all our dependencies, both on the back end, both on the front end, and we upgrade those accordingly to make sure there's no security vulnerabilities or any of these, right?
Yeah.
Maybe also
actually, just since we talk about AI agent, that we are using now the 1.0.0 from Spring AI, and also the Elasticsearch version when you're using RAG needs to be up to date.
Yeah, it's in the documentation,
version
right?
8, it's in the documentation.
Because that version supports the vectorization that you needed. We talked about this before, right? To kind of do the search with the REG prompting. I think also worthwhile mentioning with Spring AI, as you said, is that we're now with the 1.0.0, which is, we always say that we're standing on the shoulders of giants. So we're always really grateful when, whatever the Spring team does. And if you're interested in that, there's a few videos of me talking to Josh Long from Spring about this. This, especially the AI release, is really important for us as they do a lot of the heavy lifting or implement a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to switching between different models. So we didn't really talk about this in this video. When you build any agent model, you can have an advanced configuration where you can go to Azure OpenAI, the regular OpenAI, Claude, Anthropic, and the thing is that we're piggybacking on Spring AI there to do the heavy lifting for us, to do the nitty-gritty details when you switch between the models, and they give us an API that we can talk to that is unified across all of these models, which is really powerful, right? So in Flowable, we give you this power to switch between all the different model types, and we're actually using Spring AI. So that's why I do want to spend some time mentioning that because we're grateful for, as you know, we're coming from open source. We are open source heritage, and our engines are open source, so it's definitely worthwhile to mention that. Big thanks to that team there. That being said, Valentin, I'm out of material to talk about. I don't know if you've got anything else to add.
I mean, there are plenty of things which we could add, but I think we are going to record just separate videos for the different features to go more into detail there. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Jorm, for having me.
Here. And see you next release video.
See you in the next release video. Bye.